including that one. I'm going to change to speaker view from people view. And I'm going to make sure I can see all of you. I want to make sure, last thing before I get myself started is...
Yeah, so just for your information, for some reason the link didn't work properly, so I had to do
Oh,
it manually.
goodness.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's why I'm a bit late. Sorry about that.
okay. Well, there couldn't have been any other reason. I've never known you to be late, except for when your sister-in-law's here. So, and it is a small class today as far as who I knew was coming. So I'm going to double check. I'm not sure why. Yeah, that link. Thanks for letting me know, Nat. I'll look at it. Maybe I did a typo in it or something. Yeah, I know. I don't know either. That's okay. All right. Since I've got you guys here, yeah, Margot?
Voice. I just have this box that's covering a good portion of you that says, please introduce yourself. Have you
Oh,
ever
you
seen
probably
that
need to,
before?
okay, just type your name in. I'm sure that must be it.
Okay, that's fine.
I've never seen that. I don't see y'all's side of it very much.
There we go. I've never seen it before either, but that's okay.
All right. Okay. So I think we're all good. I think everybody can see me without any big distractions, hopefully. And we'll see if anyone else, we have a few more I think I expect to join us, but we will see how that goes. Hopefully everyone's pipes are back to whatever. Yeah. And electricity. It's been a week. How about that? So we're going to go up both sides of the spine. We're going to go up both sides of the sides. We're going to go up each side. We're also going to go down the side of the leg. So a lot of side work. With that said, I think we're going to start with the sides and finish with the spine so that we can hopefully go around the neck at the end of it to get just a full work. Oh, I heard a yay. So I'm going to, saying that, I'm going to make sure that we're all muted as well. So that we don't have that additional sound. And then we'll get ourselves going. So do the sides. We are going to start at the sitting bone though, because we can then already have that done as we sort ourselves out. So on your right sitting bone, with your choice, basic ball, first choice, more detail for a moment, use your black ball. You can skip onto the other ball momentarily as you need. And then we're going to shift forward and back through the sitting bone to the front and to the back. A few times to get the process started. The next time you return to the front, we'll pause and sink in. And then we're going to start to circle. Going around, finding the edges and the depth at the edge. And when you get to the front again, pause and sink in. And then reverse your circle. And then when you get to the front of the sitting bone, again, we'll pause. From in front of the sitting bone, we're going to shift the ball towards the outside. And we'll do this more than once. So if you start to notice that when you get to your side, you won't be able to see what you need to, you can shift yourself on your mat. So I'm going to the outside of my leg and I'm rolling. I'm taking the ball to the outer edge of the leg. It's just below my greater trochanter, and that's plenty. That can be enough. Or I'm going to start to add on a bit of a twist, a bit of a stretch with torso and my opposite leg. Any and all of that is great to add on. And then I'm going to return to in front of my sitting bone. I'm going to shift onto the sitting bone and hang out. And I'm going to move the ball to the outside again. So it's spreading sit bone and any soft tissue out to the side. I'm using my hands to support on that right side of the body. And I'm rolling through onto that greater trochanter. And that can be enough. Additional intensity by using some rotation and reaching the leg behind. And then returning to sitting bone. From sitting bone, I'm going to shift the body forward, take the ball back. If I stay upright, it lifts the glute off the hamstring. Your choice to stay upright or slightly tipped back for direct weight down into the ball. And I'm going to roll the ball towards the outside. And it's going to come into a place probably just slightly above the greater trochanter. And I'm going to begin by using that sense of rotation with the torso, stretch of the working leg, and stretch of the leg behind. Now I'm going to bring my supporting leg to return to the other leg. And I'm going to take my upper body so that I'm in a straight line now. Okay, great. And I'm going to reach my right leg, my bottom leg, long, and it's going to roll the ball up into the iliac crest. So just the bone at the top of the pelvis below the waist. I'm going to hang out here for a moment because we'll need that to go up into the side and let the weight of the body meet the weight of the ball. I'm going to roll the ball towards the front hip point along the iliac crest. I'm starting to face the floor. Using your breath, it will help you open up the trunk. And it's just a slow roll as if you're trying to push tissue of the ball, staying heavy on the bone. And then we're going to return to our side. Nice and slow and heavy. I'm going to take that top leg behind to give me a little bit more support. I'm going to bend my working leg, my right leg, and I'm going to continue to roll past side so that I'm rolling towards the right side of my spine. Trying to hit all points of the pelvis that are going to affect farther up into the shoulder. And then once I've gotten to the right side of my spine, Sinking in, we'll return to the side. Now that we've done that, we're going to come off the ball. Going to find the waist on that side. Going to move my hand up to find my bottom rib. I'm going to walk up 4 fingers, bring the ball above that so that we're not in the floating ribs. And we're going to lie down with some room towards the feet. Working on having a straight line on the bottom. Elbow can be bent. Elbow can be straight. Top leg can be bent or straight. Using your breath with the ball. As you're here, we'll use 2 more breaths. You should feel comfortable to also shift slightly forward and slightly back on the ball within the breath. Big breath in, heavy breath out, using your top hand and foot as you reach the bottom leg, rolling the ball halfway towards your armpit. Again, returning to your breath. Any option that you want or need in the upper body. Filling the lungs, filling into the ball, stretching, getting heavier as you exhale, potentially rolling a little forward and a little back, as if you're kind of using your elbows to give yourself a little bit more room in a crowd. As you bring yourself back into the sideline, full breath in, deep breath out, using your top hand and foot, reaching the leg of the bottom side to roll the ball into the armpit. Again, choices for that bottom arm and for the neck. Anytime, feel free to move forward or back. You're addressing sort of the inside front of the armpit and the back inside of the armpit and the rib cage. As a means to come out of this, I want you to veer towards the front of your armpit. So we're coming towards the chest. We're going to do a pec minor. So we're going to roll to the belly, strong reach with your right arm. We're thinking of going underneath pec major, underneath collarbone, taking your breath into that space. One final breath. And then you can use your left forearm as a place for your head to land as you roll onto your belly and remove the ball and rest. When you're ready, bring yourself up to sitting. Take a moment for yourself. How does that feel? Opening up the side, beginning to open the hip, the breath, shoulder girdle to help you with the neck. When you're ready, once you've come up to sitting, we will take the ball underneath the left sitting bone and begin again. Finding that weight down into the ball. Beginning to shift forward and back through the sitting bone and into the leg and the pelvis. Taking note of how it feels compared to the other side, how it feels compared to yesterday, last week. Heavy through the sitting bone. Cleaning that bone extra stuck tissue. When you get to the front of the sitting bone, hang out, sink in, and then circle. Feeling for the edges. And then once you've gotten around to the front, we'll pause. And then we'll reverse your circle. And again, as you come around to the front, when you get around to the front, we will pause before we begin to go towards the side. Finding that hamstring tendon, that space in front of sitting bone, and just sinking in. And from there, we're going to sink through and then roll the ball to the outside of the leg. And then roll onto the side. And then we'll begin to reach the other leg back, if that's appropriate. Yep. And using the upper body to create even more sort of tension of stretch on top of the ball. And then we'll begin our return to in front of the sitting bone. From in front of the sitting bone, we'll shift our bodies forward so the ball comes onto the sitting bone. And then we'll start to shift to the outside, spreading away from midline, and then rolling onto the side, onto that greater trochanter, and adding on any of those additional reaches if that's appropriate. And then we'll return back through to sitting bone. Third trip to the side, taking the ball behind sitting bone, allowing the ball to lift the glute in that peel sensation. And then, if you wish, balancing weight on top. I'm going to extend my leg out and begin to shift to the side. And just above that greater trochanter with the ball, that's what I'm aiming for. There's nothing that you can injure along the way, so you're fine if you're not certain. And again, adding on as I get to the side, any of that additional reach and stretch. Now, instead of returning this time, we're going to start to make a straight line. So I'm bringing my top leg, my right leg back in, and I'm bringing my torso back to line up with that. Then I'm going to use the reach of the bottom leg to roll the ball higher and to the iliac crest. So the very top of the pelvis, right before we get to our waistline. We're going to pause there on the rim of the pelvis. Our obliques are attached here. And they can pin our ribs down onto our pelvis, giving us a very short waist. So we're going to roll the ball towards the front hip point, the ASIS. I'm going to use my top leg as something of a kickstand as I slowly roll through, making my way all the way along the rim of the pelvis, all the way till I get to that point of the hip. And we'll return the same way. So we'll return to the sideline along that bone. And as we get to side, we'll set ourselves up to go towards the left side of the spine. So we're going to be addressing the very thick fascia that is, the lat comes out of it and up into the upper arm. So here we go into connecting the pelvis to the shoulder girdle with as much space as we can. And from the side towards the left side of the spine. Once you get to that area, we will return again back through to the side, our side seam. And then we'll come to a seat off the ball. Great. Finding the waist, moving up to find the bone, walking up 4 fingers, and bringing the ball above that. You're going to lie down with enough room towards your feet so that we can make the progression of the ball up into the armpit. And you're going to begin to drape yourself over the ball. Finding your breath. If you need to have a softer position, a bent elbow will do that for you. Today is about soothing. Feeling free to do a slight forward or back motion. Just to imagine that you're spreading the depth of your side body as opposed to tying it down with laces. We'll take one more full breath in, heavy breath out, and use the weight of the body on the ball. As you reach the bottom leg, the ball will roll halfway towards your armpit, and we will begin again. A nice breath. Feeling the expansion against the ball, the softening of the ribs as you exhale. Final breath in, deep exhale. Staying heavy on the ball as you reach the leg to move the ball up into the armpit. Feel free to use the top hand to space for your neck if you need. Feeling for breath all the way up into the armpit, into the ball. Feeling free to venture towards the back of the armpit, or it's the inside of the shoulder blade that you're starting to butt up against if you do. It's a very hidden spot. And beginning to veer towards the front of the armpit if you haven't, or if you aren't. And stay side-lying for a moment as the ball comes into and under pec major. You might feel tingling in the arm. And then start to make your way towards your belly. Yep. And it's a slow roll around that corner. It's a long reach with that left arm. Even if the arm is bent, it's still a sense that you're trying to get somewhat over the ball. Trying to envision the pec minor underneath that large pec major. It's holding down the crook. There's a finger, a crook of your shoulder blade that comes up and over the rib cage to the front. And we're trying to release that a little bit so that we feel a little release even in the neck from this when we come off the ball. And speaking of coming off the ball, when you're ready, we're going to just roll to the belly and release the ball. And when you're ready, we will come up so that we can go up each side of the spine and into the neck. Okay. So we will start where we started before, which is probably why I did it originally. We are going to go all the way up the right side of the spine from the sitting bone. When we get to shoulder blade, I think we should invite that shoulder blade to widen, so we may do a little bit more work there, maybe even out to the shoulder. So when we get up to the base of the skull, we will come off the ball by rolling around the neck. Okay? Once we get to the base of the skull, we will stay there. We'll turn the head without turning the body. Then we'll turn the body without moving the head. Then we'll move the body again. All right, so there's a little bit of a system to it. That being said, make sure that your right side of your body is facing the screen so that if you need to be able to see what's going on, you'll be ready for that. And with that, you'll also want room in front of you as we're starting at the sitting bone. So make sure you have a track in front of you and screen to your right. The logistical implications of this are just, phenomenal. All right, so let's bring, since we've been here, we're going to bring the ball to the front of the sitting bone. We're going to shift the body forward as we stay heavy in the ball. And let the ball come to behind the sitting bone. After we've found that peel of the glute off of sitting bone and hamstring, we're going to rebalance or focus our balance by tipping back slightly. Use your hands to support you as you need. From here, I'm going to ask that you stretch your right leg forward if it isn't, and use the reach of the right leg to progress the ball up the pelvis on the right side. So we're using one of those strong reaches of the leg that pulls the pelvis while we resist it somewhat with the upper body. When you get to the iliac crest, take a moment, let yourself settle in there before we create another stretch. Once you're there, nice heavy exhale, begin to pull and that leg again and let it pull you into your lower back on that right side. The reach of the leg is creating space between pelvis and ribs. The resistance of the upper body is also helping with that. When you start to feel your lowest ribs, if you feel that the usefulness, the utility of the reach of the leg is at its end, then we'll start to go into a more familiar pattern, staying back on the ball, both legs bent, using the hands on the mat or on the legs. And we'll start to reach into our exhale, reach into the ball. Reach the sit bone forward away from the ball as you bear weight back into the ball. The ball is rolling up on the right side of the spine. I'm going to inhale, let my hips come down so that I can reestablish the weight and the pull on my next exhale. Exhale, sinking in. At the end of the exhale, when you're your heaviest, the hips pull forward, the weight goes back into the ball at the same time. Inhale, bringing your hips down. I'm near the tip of my shoulder blade now as far as my latitude. I'm going to sink back again. Make sure I have room inside my shoulder blade for the ball to roll. And as I can feel that medial border of the shoulder blade, I'm going to pause, let my hips come down, and start to make, on my next exhale, a shift. So I'm going to exhale into the ball, and I'm going to shift my torso to the left, the ball to the right. It's rolling out. It may stop against the shoulder blade, or it may pass through the shoulder blade to the back of the shoulder, or just before you get to the humeral head, the actual arm. And then I'm going to just very simply, lightly return to the right side of my spine along that same horizontal line. On my exhale, I'm going to sink in again and go vertically. So hips pull forward, ball rolls up. I'm about halfway between the bottom and top of my shoulder blade. I'm going to do the same horizontal line at the end of my next exhale, beginning that line so that I have as much weight into the ball as possible. I'm noticing that I've shifted my hips before I go over to the left a little bit. It helps pull me over there. And I'm using any kind of reach of my right arm that's helpful. I'm supporting my head with my left. And I'm just rolling ball to the right side. I'm face my screen. And then I'm going to very lightly come back to the right side of my spine. One more like this. Nice full exhale, sinking back, hips shift forward, ball rolls up. It's the upper border of my shoulder blade. So you may or may not have a lot of weight into the ball. Try to have weight into the ball. If lifting your hips is an option, maybe that's where you need to go to get the weight, but we're just widening that space out to the side. Heavy spread. You almost don't even want to think that the ball is rolling. It's not really your goal. It's more that you want to almost slide it out even though it's not going to slide. And then I'm going to return to the right side. Here we go into the neck. I'm going to sink back. I'm going to continue to sort of inchworm my way up my cervical spine on the right side. I'm really thinking of using the ball to lift each vertebrae a little bit higher off of the one beneath it, all the way until I'm really in my skull. This is where your upper trapezius is attached. The whole trapezius is attached, the entirety of the rib cage. I'm really going to sink back into that space. It's drawn my chin in. I've got a slight tilt of the head that's happened. That's fine. And then I'm going to use a turn of my head to roll the ball towards my right ear. And I'm doing my best not to roll onto my side yet, but just have that turn of the head. It might even push against the back of your ear. That is fine. Then I'm going to use my feet to push me into the ball as I roll onto my right side with my right arm underneath me. Lengthening my skull over the ball best I can, or lifting my hips to weight the ball really reaching into the nook where my neck and shoulders meet. And then I'm going to take my bottom arm and take it underneath and behind, as if I'm going to go onto my belly. My palm is down towards the floor, about 30 degrees out from my hip at the shoulder. That's an additional stretch to your shoulder. I'm going to stay on the ball and roll my trunk a little bit more towards belly. So you're really between your jaw and your collarbone, doing your best to relax your neck and head. This is great for your jaw. And then, like we did off of your pec minor from the side armpit, I'm going to just place my left forearm down. I'm going to roll onto my belly and put my forehead on my forearm as a landing place and remove the ball and rest. Enjoy what that feels like. We all gather. We'll come into our left sitting bone so that we can begin again. So we're going to shift the ball in front of the sitting bone. We're going to make our way forward through sitting bone to behind that sitting bone. And then just like on the other side, we're going to start to stretch out that left leg. We're going to use it as like somebody's pulling your leg and you don't really want to go. So that resistance of going at the same time, you're being tugged along, creating more space from femur to pelvis. And then as you roll up the rim of the pelvis, you'll start to feel that the leg is pulling the pelvis as well to give more room between pelvis and ribs. Goal is to stay heavy. So it's almost, a curl of the tail as opposed to coming down onto the floor. It's just a little bit more dynamic and active. Whichever variation works better for you. And we're going to keep doing that along the left side of the spine all the way till we feel those bottom ribs. So that dynamic reach of the leg feeds all the way up between pelvis and ribs. And once you've gotten that last pull, both legs will be bent to help you move. And as appropriate, hands on the floor or hands behind your thighs. Going to exhale to shift back into the ball. Bring my sit bones forward towards my feet. Use my weight and strength back into the ball so that as I roll, I am pulling tissue up with me. Rehydrating the tissue. Exhale, sink back. Sit bone pulls forward. The weight of your body on the ball resisting the movement forward. Inhale, reset, hips back on the ground. We have one more, probably, and you'll start to feel the tip of the shoulder blade. I'm going to exhale this last time, roll the ball up a little bit higher. And then when I pause, ready to go into my horizontal shape. If you're already doing that, that is totally fine. I am going to sink in and I'm rolling the ball into the medial border of my shoulder blade. I'm using any use of that left arm that helps me pull the shoulder blade wide. If that's out to the side, great. If that is more across, that is fine. And I'm taking the ball to behind the shoulder. And then once I've gotten there, I'm going to just very simply, lightly return without much emphasis to the left side of the spine. We'll do this twice more. I'm going to exhale, sink back into the ball. Sit bone pulls forward, ball rolls up. I'm going to pause here on my next inhale. I'm going to exhale, sink in again, and start to make that horizontal roll. However it works for you. Everything is about using your body's position to put weight and utility into your body weight, into the ball. Once I get to the outside of the shoulder, I'm going to just very nonchalantly return myself back to the left side of the spine. Here we go. Last time, sinking in on my exhale, sit bones pulling forward, ball has gone quite high, upper edge of that shoulder blade. You may not be able to feel that edge, but you can visualize it. And exhale, sink in again and make that horizontal shift. Now, when we did Nooks and Crannies Part 1, we went further out into the arm. So at a later date, if you think about this technique and want to take it further, you absolutely can. And once you get to the shoulder here in this upper shoulder blade roll, you can return to the left side of the spine. We'll go into the neck, using your breath and your body weight as you go in to the left side of the cervical spine. You're inchworming your way up, bearing weight back into the ball as best you can until you get all the way to the base of the skull on the left side. Now, from here, we'll keep the body on the back, even if it shifts to the right to help you make your shape. So we're going to roll the head to the left, rolling the ball towards the back of the left ear. And then I'm going to shift my body onto my left side. I'm going to push with my feet so that the ball goes into my neck with my upper arm underneath me. My head can drape over the ball, and or I can raise my hips enough to put weight onto the ball. I'm going to bring my hips down if they're up. I'm going to sneak my left arm behind me. My palm is up, about 30-degree angle at the shoulder. And I'm really trying to get the ball into my neck and over the hill of the ball. So the ball is between my collarbone and my ear-ish. I'm going to turn a little bit more. Just going to bring the ball between my jaw and my collarbone a little. And then I'm going to use my right forearm as a landing pad to lay my head down and come off the ball. And rest. Let yourselves rest. Good. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. I feel a bit soothed. I know I was kind of up here, right, from the last bit of time. So nice to feel a little bit more wholly open. So good. Thanks, you guys. Great to see you all. And we'll see you soon.
Good job.